Welcome to the Prescott Lab Podcast, not just theory, practical science for everyone. I'm Dr. Jonathan Prescott, a physician and integrative medicine researcher at the Ravenshade Institute for Human Health. Gentlemen, close your eyes for a moment and picture this. It's dawn. The first light of the day is slipping through your kitchen blinds, painting soft gold across the countertop. The coffee pot hums in the background, but your hand doesn't reach for the mug just yet. Instead, you pick up a simple spoon, nothing fancy, and take one small serving of something so ordinary it's probably sitting in your cupboard right now. Weeks later, your hands feel warmer, your walks feel easier, and when the moment calls for it, your body responds like it used to. No prescriptions, no expensive procedures, just a quiet ritual that slowly gives you back what you thought you'd lost. That's what we're talking about today, a natural ingredient you've walked past countless times, one backed by science to improve blood flow, restore energy, and revive confidence. And I'm going to show you how to use it in a way that can triple its effect. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the perfect time. And give this video a like, not as a favor to me, but as a signal that this kind of conversation matters. Every like pushes this message to more men who need to hear it, and it gives us the drive to keep creating practical, doctor-backed strategies you can put into action the same day. I'd also love to hear from you. Leave a comment telling me if this is the kind of solution you've been hoping to find, or if you've already tried something similar. I read them all, and your story might just be the spark another man needs. Now, let's talk about the first thing you need to understand: why circulation naturally slows down after 60, and why that matters more than most men realize. 1. Why circulation declines after 60. I've had this conversation more times than I can count. A man in his early 60s sits across from me, maybe he's just retired, maybe he's still working, and he leans in with a quiet frustration. He says, "Doc, 10 years ago I didn't even think about this stuff. My body just worked. Now it's different." He remembers the days when intimacy was effortless, when a long walk didn't leave him catching his breath, when a Saturday of yard work didn't require a Sunday of recovery. But lately, erections that used to be strong and dependable now arrive slowly or sometimes not at all. His hands and feet feel colder. He's even started avoiding moments of closeness with his partner, not because the desire is gone, but because the fear of letting her down is stronger than the hope of pleasing her. I tell him what I'll tell you now: this is not simply getting older. It's not bad luck. And it's not a sentence you have to accept. Something very real is happening inside your blood vessels, something that modern science understands better than ever. Inside each artery is a paper-thin lining called the endothelium. Think of it as the conductor of an orchestra, controlling when your blood vessels open wide and when they tighten. In your youth, that lining is supple and responsive, opening at a moment's notice to flood your muscles, your brain, and yes, your most intimate tissues with warm, oxygen-rich blood. But decades of subtle wear and tear change the picture. A diet heavy in processed fats and sugars, too many hours sitting still, chronic low-level stress, and tiny invisible sparks of inflammation, these slowly damage the endothelium. It's like the plumbing in an old house. Over time, the pipes get narrower, the valves stiffen, and the water struggles to reach the farthest rooms. And here's a fact that surprises many men: the arteries in the penis are among the smallest in the body. They're the first to show trouble, often years before the larger vessels in the heart or legs give any warning. Research from cardiovascular medicine has shown that when the endothelium becomes less responsive, blood flow declines everywhere, but the most delicate systems suffer first. Without healthy flow, energy drops. Recovery after activity takes longer. Confidence fades. It's not just a physical loss, it's a slow erosion of the way you experience life. The good news: damage to the endothelium isn't always permanent. Studies have shown that with the right nutrients, lifestyle changes, and daily habits, you can restore flexibility to these vessels, improve nitric oxide production, and reawaken the body's ability to deliver blood exactly where it's needed. And here's where it gets interesting, because the first step in that process doesn't come in a prescription bottle. It's far simpler, something so ordinary you might walk past it in your own kitchen without a second thought. 2. The overlooked natural solution. Over the years, I've seen the same look in the eyes of so many men. It's the look of someone who's tried everything, or at least thinks he has. They come into my office with a list in their head: the pills that gave them headaches, the powders that made big promises but delivered nothing, the expensive devices collecting dust in a drawer. One man in his late 60s, Michael, sat down across from me not long ago. His words came out with a mix of frustration and fatigue. "Doc, I've done it all, nothing works. But here's the truth I've learned in 30 years of medicine. Most men haven't tried everything. Because the most powerful tools for restoring circulation often aren't the newest, flashiest, or most expensive. Sometimes they're hiding in plain sight, so ordinary we overlook them completely." In Michael's case, the turning point came from something he already had at home: a bottle of pure, cold-pressed extra virgin olive oil. Not the cheap blends in clear plastic bottles that sit for months under bright store lights, stripped of their goodness before you ever open them. I'm talking about the deep green gold liquid in a dark glass bottle from a single origin harvest, the kind that's been at the heart of the Mediterranean diet for centuries. This isn't just cooking oil. In the right form, it's a medicinal food, rich in polyphenols and antioxidants that act like a repair crew for the endothelium, calming inflammation, restoring flexibility to blood vessels, and supporting nitric oxide production so your arteries can open wide when you need them to. I've watched men like Michael go from avoiding intimacy to feeling confident again, not in months, but in weeks. Their energy comes back. Their blood pressure stabilizes. Their stride changes. And when they tell me what's different, it's not just about performance, it's about the way they carry themselves through the day. It's almost funny in a way. We spend billions chasing the next breakthrough, but sometimes the real magic comes from returning to the basics, nourishing the body with exactly what it's been missing. And when you use it the right way, this unassuming oil can do far more than most men realize. Of course, knowing that it works is only half the story. The real key is understanding how it works inside your body, and why that makes all the difference in the results you see. 3. How EVOO works for men's vitality. When I explain this to my patients, there's always a pause, a slow nod, a flicker of realization, and then the same question: why hasn't anyone told me this before? The answer is simple. Too often we separate food from medicine in our minds. We forget that the very systems that keep us alive, our heart, our brain, our hormones, are built and repaired from what we put into our mouths every single day. Extra virgin olive oil is proof of that. At the center of male vitality is blood flow, and at the center of blood flow is a molecule called nitric oxide. Think of nitric oxide as the body's open sesame signal for your arteries. When your brain sends the command, nitric oxide tells the smooth muscles in your vessel walls to relax, letting blood rush through. Without enough of it, even the strongest desire can hit a dead end. Here's where high-quality olive oil earns its reputation. Its polyphenols, especially oleuropein and hydroxytyrosol, act almost like lubricant on rusty hinges. They restore your artery's ability to respond to nitric oxide, so when the signal comes, the doors swing wide open again. Blood moves more freely to your muscles, your brain, and the places that define intimacy for a man. But that's not the only layer to this. The healthy monounsaturated fats in extra virgin olive oil are a quiet but powerful ally for your testosterone. Hormones don't appear out of thin air. Your body builds them from raw materials, and these fats are exactly the kind it needs to keep testosterone levels steady. Balanced testosterone means more energy, more drive, better mood, and stronger recovery after effort. And there's a third advantage most men overlook. These fats help your body absorb vitamins A, D, E, and K, nutrients that protect your bones, strengthen your immune system, and repair your cells after daily wear and tear. In other words, every spoonful isn't just working on one part of you, it's quietly building a stronger, more resilient man from the inside out. This is why some men notice changes within weeks, not months. They're not just feeding their body. They're giving it the tools to respond, to recover, and to perform the way it was meant to. Of course, as with any tool, the way you use it determines the results you get. And there's a specific way to work this into your morning so you get the maximum impact where it matters most. 4. The correct way to take it. I've lost count of how many times I've seen this happen. A man hears about the benefits of extra virgin olive oil, goes out that very afternoon, buys a bottle, and then weeks later comes back shaking his head. "Doc, I don't feel a thing." When I ask how he's been taking it, I usually get the same answer: drizzled over a heavy dinner, mixed into fried food, or worse. Poured from a bargain bottle that's been sitting on a grocery store shelf for months under fluorescent lights. The truth is, with something this powerful, how you take it is just as important as what you're taking. First comes quality. If the label doesn't say 100% pure, first cold-pressed, single-origin extra virgin olive oil, and it isn't in a dark glass bottle, keep looking. The best oils are harvested and bottled in a way that protects their polyphenols and healthy fats from light, heat, and air, the very things that can strip away their benefits. Next is timing. Take it in the morning first thing on an empty stomach, before coffee, before breakfast, before anything else touches your lips. This allows your body to absorb those nutrients directly without interference from other foods. And then there's enhancement, small tweaks that can make a good habit even more potent. A squeeze of fresh lemon juice adds vitamin C, which works hand in hand with olive oil to support nitric oxide production. A tiny pinch of freshly ground black pepper brings in piperine, a natural compound that helps your body take in more of the oil's beneficial compounds. Finally, the most important rule, consistency. This isn't a one-week experiment. It's a ritual, a daily act of self-care. The men who see the most dramatic results are the ones who commit to it every single morning without skipping, letting the benefits build day after day. And here's something they often discover along the way. What starts as a simple spoonful of oil becomes something more, a small promise they keep to themselves. And that promise changes more than just their circulation. 5. Emotional connection. Why this matters. I've met men who could stand in front of a room and speak with authority about anything, their career, their hobbies, the state of the world. But when the conversation turns to their own body, their own intimacy, their voice changes. It gets quieter, slower, like the words themselves weigh more than they used to. There was James, 68, a retired firefighter who'd once been the strongest man in every room he entered. He told me about the nights he'd lie awake, not because he couldn't sleep, but because he didn't want to risk trying and failing with his wife. I'd rather let her think I'm tired, he said, than see the look in her eyes when it doesn't happen. That look, he told me, cut deeper than any wound he'd carried out of a burning building. Or Daniel, 63, who had always been the life of every gathering until he quietly stopped accepting invitations. I just don't feel like myself anymore, Doc. When you lose that, you start avoiding people who might notice. When circulation declines, it's not just about the body. The science is clear. Reduced nitric oxide means your arteries can't open fully, which means less oxygen-rich blood reaches the muscles, the brain, and yes, the tissues that define a man's most intimate moments. That loss of flow doesn't just affect performance, it affects recovery, energy, and mood. Over time, low circulation can disrupt testosterone production, which further erodes energy, motivation, and even your sense of self. This creates a cycle, poor blood flow leading to poor confidence, and poor confidence leading to less movement, less intimacy, less joy. Psychologists call it avoidance reinforcement. The more you avoid, the stronger the avoidance becomes. And that's where relationships begin to quietly fray. Partners misread the signals. Affection turns into distance. But here's the hopeful part. Every morning ritual you commit to, something as small as a spoon of the right oil, is more than just a nutrient delivery system. It's a declaration. It tells your body, I haven't given up on you. It tells your partner, even without words, I still care about this connection. And it tells your mind, I'm still the man I've always been. I've seen it happen over and over. Within weeks, a man's handshake is firmer. His shoulders square a little more. His eyes meet yours differently. These aren't just side effects of improved circulation. They're signs of a man stepping back into his own life. And when you combine that sense of renewal with smart, safe practice, you set the stage for changes that last. But before you take the next step, it's important to know how to move forward without risking what you've worked so hard to rebuild. 6. Safety and important notes. Over 3 decades of working with men's health has taught me something important. No matter how natural or promising a remedy may be, there's no such thing as a one-size-fits-all solution. Even the purest extra virgin olive oil, as gentle as it seems, deserves a moment of thought before you begin. I've seen men hear about this morning ritual and rush straight to the store that same afternoon. And I love the enthusiasm. It tells me they're ready to take ownership of their health. But before they even twist the cap off that bottle, we sit down and talk through their personal health history. If you have gallstones or certain digestive issues, a spoon of oil on an empty stomach can sometimes trigger cramping or discomfort, not because the oil is harmful, but because your body's bile system reacts differently. For men on blood thinners, heart medication, or certain drugs for diabetes, the polyphenols and healthy fats in olive oil can subtly change how those medicines work. That doesn't mean you can't use it, but it does mean your doctor should be in the loop. And quality, I cannot stress this enough. Low-grade or blended oils are not just weaker in benefit, they can be laced with refined seed oils, stripped of antioxidants, even contaminated by poor storage. If you're putting something into your body every single morning, it deserves to be the real thing. First, cold-pressed, single origin, sealed in dark glass to keep out the light. I also encourage my patients to listen to their bodies. If a full tablespoon feels heavy at first, start with half. Let your system adjust. If you find it sits better with a small piece of whole grain toast rather than completely on an empty stomach, that's fine. The point is to make it work for you, not force your body into discomfort. When approached with care, this simple ritual can be one of the safest, most effective daily choices you'll ever make for your circulation and overall vitality. And when you've cleared those boxes, quality, dosage, timing, compatibility, that's when you can start thinking about how to make it even more effective with just one extra step that most men completely overlook. 7. The twist to boost results. Over the years, I've seen two kinds of men try this ritual. The first group takes their spoon of oil in the morning, nods with quiet satisfaction, and moves on with their day. The second group does something extra, a small, almost invisible step, and their results are sharper, faster, and longer lasting. Let me tell you about Frank, 71. He started the olive oil ritual after hearing me speak at a community event. Within a week, he called to tell me, "Doc, I feel something, but it's subtle." I asked him what he did after taking it. He said, "Nothing, I sit down with my coffee." So I gave him a new instruction: the moment you swallow that spoonful, get up, move, even if it's just a slow walk to the end of your street and back. The next time we spoke, his voice had a different energy. "Doc, it's like my whole body wakes up before breakfast." Here's why it works. The olive oil is priming your endothelium, softening vessel walls, increasing nitric oxide, calming inflammation. But circulation isn't just about open pipes, it's about the pump that pushes the blood through them. When you walk, even gently, your calf muscles contract and relax like a second heart, pushing blood upward against gravity, flooding oxygen-rich blood into tissues that may have been running on fumes for years. Think of it like a network of rivers. The oil clears the channels, removes the debris. The walk sends the current rushing forward, carrying nutrients to every far corner, your brain, your muscles, and yes, the most delicate capillaries that define a man's confidence. The beauty is this doesn't require a workout. 5 minutes is enough to set the tone. Step outside if you can, let the morning air hit your face, feel the sun on your skin. Those sensory cues tell your nervous system the day has begun, syncing your hormones, lifting your mood, and signaling your body to perform. I've seen men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s regain a spark just from this pairing, the right fuel followed by the right signal. And when you start your morning in motion, with your circulation wide open and your confidence building, you can't help but wonder how much more of life you could reclaim if you kept that momentum going. 8. Conclusion. Gentlemen, we've walked through a lot together today. You now know why circulation changes with age, the overlooked ingredient that can help turn it around, the science of how it works, the right way to take it, and the simple twist that can multiply its effects. But more than that, I hope you felt something, a reminder that your body still has the capacity to respond, to heal, to surprise you. I've seen men start this journey feeling doubtful, even defeated, only to come back weeks later with a different light in their eyes. Not because a miracle happened overnight, but because they made a choice every morning to take one small action for themselves and they stayed with it. That's the power you hold in your own hands. If you've been listening and thinking, maybe it's time I try, then let this be your moment. Start tomorrow. Give yourself that spoon, give yourself those 5 minutes of movement, and give yourself permission to feel alive again. And if you've been with me until now, I want to thank you. You're the reason I keep making these episodes. So if you haven't yet subscribed, take a second to do that. It's how you make sure you never miss the next conversation we have here. And if you found value in today's talk, hit that like button. Every click tells me this matters, and it fuels me to bring you more week after week. Share this with a friend, a brother, or anyone you think might need to hear it. You never know whose life you could change with something as simple as sending them this video. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Tell me if you're going to try this, or if you already have, what did you notice? What questions do you still have? I read every comment, and your words might be exactly what another man needs to take his first step. Wherever you are, I hope you leave today feeling encouraged, respected, and reminded that you're not alone on this road. Take care of yourself, stay strong, and I'll see you in the next episode.